I used to get heart palpitations when I would try to participate in class. Welcome to episode 1 labeled, "You're Not Shy, You Just Need More Reps." Let's rewind about 6 years while I was in undergrad. I was a psychology major and I was taking psychology classes. In classes, you have to participate. I would get so nervous and anxious whenever I would have to participate or raise my hand, and I legitimately would get heart palpitations anytime I would raise my hand and share my thoughts. I remember thinking to myself, though, I wanted to go to OT school, and I did not want to keep approaching my learning like this in a manner where I was so shy, insecure, and really stressed in a classroom environment. And I distinctly remember in one of my classes, it was abnormal psychology. Thankfully, I felt rather comfortable with the professor that I had, and so I just made it my mission to share my thoughts. And I would just raise my hand, get my reps in. And eventually, after enough time, I became more and more comfortable raising my hand, sharing my thoughts. So much though that skill has transitioned to other areas of my life now, to other classes. It's transitioned to my clinical care, how I present myself in the hospital setting, and just so much more. Why am I telling you this story about me in undergrad? It's to speak to the power of repetition. Sometimes you just have to throw yourself into the fire and do the hard thing until the hard thing doesn't feel as daunting. So ultimately, in my opinion, intentional discomfort speaks to your discipline. In the journey of becoming more confident, it's going to take many, many instances of intentional discomfort to eventually get to that point of confidence. And intentional discomfort is evidence of you showing up for yourself as a future clinician to eventually make you better in the long run. And this all speaks to your discipline because you are controlling the impulse to just take the easy route. You are actively fighting against all of the things in your head that are saying, don't do it. It's too hard. It's really scary. It's too daunting. You know what you have to say to that? You have to say, nope, I'm gonna do it anyways. Even if I don't feel like it, I'm gonna do it anyways. So let's talk about an action item. I've gone on about why intentional discomfort is really important, why it shows that you're disciplined, how it's going to benefit you in the long run, but how are we actually going to get to intentional discomfort? How are we actually going to take the steps to becoming more confident? So here's your action item. To become more confident, you are going to spark up a conversation with a random person in public. You're going to chat up the barista that you always see. You're going to be engaged in a conversation with that Trader Joe's employee. You're going to randomly say hi to that stranger at the crosswalk. Now, when I was in that abnormal psychology class, I absolutely had to rehearse what I wanted to say out loud before I said it, just to make myself feel a little bit more comfortable and like I had a little bit more control over the situation despite my anxiety. So in these instances, rehearse what you want to say. Rehearse how you're going to greet people, how you're going to keep the conversation going. No one has to know what you're actually thinking in your head. All that matters is that you speak up and do the thing. Exercise the muscle of having different conversations in public so that eventually those uncomfortable conversations can become more comfortable when you're in the hospital or when you're in the clinic. If you're into this series, follow along for more, and in episode 2, I will be sharing a practical strategy on how I build my confidence in the clinic.